Hello and welcome into the Fantasy Addicts Fantasy Football Podcast. We are streaming live on Twitch.
We'll do it live!
Gonna hit that record and throw it up on the YouTube for you. All right, Today we are talking about our values, sleepers, and breakout players for the upcoming 2021 season. So we just had our haters episode where we had a handful of people we hate. So we're gonna hear the one guy Nick likes and the 37 players that I am looking at to bust out this year.
He says handful, but there was a lot of people that we hate.
All right.
I mean, more than probably we should. But
hey, again, you can always go back and check it out. It's still up on our Twitch stream, and if you miss it on the Twitch stream, you can, like we said, check it out on YouTube. Also,
I mean, I don't think we were wrong on anybody. I think we were 100% accurate across the board.
They don't let you have a podcast if you're wrong about players for fantasy football.
I think that's 100% correct.
All right. So I am your host, Mike the Fantasy Addict, joined as always by co-host Nikki B.
This is me.
And we're ready.
And the coup helmet.
Let's get it going.
Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
Cheers.
We're doing it. All right, you want to start out with the players? You want to start with a little bit of news around the league?
Let's do news and notes, just see what's going on out there. Today is, we're recording on June 1st, so June 1st, a lot of things change as far as kind of the cap hits that teams get, and the word on the street was that Julio Jones was going to get moved today, but as of yet, no word.
Still nothing. It's just a big bruise, and he's not going anywhere?
Again, where it sits right now, there's nothing that's official that has come through. He did kind of have that slip where apparently it was a hot mic. They told him he was live after he had already said that he was not going to be hanging around the Falcons.
I'm out of there.
And I hope he goes to the Cowboys after his comment that he wants to go somewhere where he can win, so he doesn't want to be a Cowboy. But that'd be an awkward, just you walk in like, oh, hey, guys, just kidding.
Right. Yeah, no, I think he is probably going to get moved, but there's still a situation where he's got a lot of cap money that a team would have to take on.
Yeah, and he helps that team. They did invest a high draft pick in Pitts, the tight end, but Calvin has looked good.
I think they're gonna have to end up taking some of his salary to move him for what they want draft value wise.
Yeah, again, he definitely could bring that value to a team that is going for it now.
Welcome,
Sogo High. Hello.
Welcome in.
Happy to have you. Welcome in.
If you got any players on your mind, let us know who you think it's a sleeper or potential breakout candidate, or who you just love going into the season.
Yeah, we'll tell you ours also, though.
I think today marks, 100 days starting today till the season?
I know that we have a countdown in our sleeper league towards our rookie draft, which we like to put off as late as you can before the regular season. I think that's around the 70-day mark. So
yeah, so I think we're 100 days of the season today.
Every day we're closer. Day we're closer.
Almost in the double digits. Joe Burrell seen throwing 65 yards today.
I saw Tiger.
And
Leg must be all right.
Throwing like a
man.
Using
that lower body to get that ball out there.
That's a good sign. Again, the reports came out that he was going to be back and ready for week 1. I'm still skeptical. He had a pretty catastrophic knee injury. And that's a big thing about Burrow. That's going to be baked into his draft price. So if he does come back and he's ready to go and he is what he was last year, they threw it a lot. He's got a new wide receiver. Still a medium line. Maybe they added a couple little patches to the line, but still probably bottom half.
I mean, he did pretty well last year with a terrible line until he got his leg torn off.
That's the thing. That's a big if, though.
What's going on, Eli?
If they let him
Higgins
rip his
and Burrow
leg
says
off.
so go. I like Higgins this year. I mean, even though Chase is coming in, like I said, I think we mentioned it last time on our last episode that AJ Green's vacating over 100 targets. So Boyd and Higgins may kind of be untouched still with Chase coming in. It depends on how often they want to throw the ball. Which
AJ Green take
to throw. They've tended to throw the ball a ton so far, which is good. I mean, even back to the Andy Dalton days, they just like to throw the ball.
Yeah, Dalton, the Bears starting quarterback right now, Andy Dalton. Let's see how it goes. But
Packers aren't trading Aaron Rodgers for one simple reason: they don't believe he'll ever play for them again. That
doesn't make any sense at all.
I know, but apparently it does at the same time. It's just one of those
Please elaborate.
I think they can't say that they want to trade him because then all of his trade value goes away because they're like, okay, well, he's going to move to somebody. We don't have to offer peak value. But I don't know. I still think there is a 90% chance that Aaron Rodgers is playing for the Green Bay Packers next year.
I tend to agree. I just don't think that he has a lot of leverage. I don't believe that he wants to retire after a MVP season. There's a lot of money to be lost for him. I know he's got money. He does the insurance commercials, discount double checking, but can always have more. It's hard to throw away millions of dollars. And I think that also, tell me if you disagree. I think he's a guy that cares about his legacy and he wants to put up numbers. And
I don't think he does, since he just told his family to beat it.
And you know what happened is he got engaged to Shayna Woodley, and my dad had a saying when we're playing high school sports, nothing will ruin a guy's sports career faster than a woman. And I say that with no ill intent towards women, but your priorities change, and maybe he cares about that, and that's what he wants to do, and he's not worried about football. But
yeah, and maybe she doesn't like Wisconsin. I don't know. So even mixing in training for receiver plays, I did see that they were using some spreading out on.
I put almost just zero stock into when running backs are working out with the wide receivers this time of year. I think
all running backs are working out with the wide receivers a little bit,
except Jordan Howard. He's just on the jug machine all day, every day.
I think he's getting LASIK again this offseason.
Jordan? I didn't even know Jordan had LASIK. There you go.
What do you
Hot
mean?
takes.
That was the whole thing.
Jameis Winston with the LASIK.
No. Jordan Howard had LASIK because that's what they thought. His whole first year that he was a great runner but didn't have the vision and he couldn't catch. And now he had LASIK and now he's...
The more you know.
Yeah. Now he only gets about a half a yard per carry.
All right. Other than that, it's been a fairly slow news day.
Rex Burkhead to the Texans. Who cares?
So... We make jokes about how some of these players are like when you're just looking for a person to go home with at the end of the night at the bar. The Texans' backfield for running backs is just when the lights come on, and it's all the guys that didn't find anybody. It's just no, this is a rough bunch of dudes right now.
Sogo, what do you think about Najee?
Like Najee, so Nick is in position. He has the first and third pick in our Dynasty rookie draft, and the betting, the odds are on the Najee to be his pick.
Are they?
I think that's what the team feels. The league is pretty locked into the first 4 picks. So
they think I'm taking Najee.
I think that's what they think.
I don't know how open Marcy. She's here.
Hey,
she's
Marcy.
Here.
Hey. Oh, you know what it was? We got the Young Ho Koo helmet out.
It's got to be.
Happy to have you. We were
Nothing else
out
makes
search
sense.
parties. Glad
she
you're
decided
alive.
not to sleep through the show this week.
And she's gone.
And see you later.
Impossible.
I know. We're surprised.
No, she has to pick up the slack now that Pocket got kicked off Twitch.
So we got to cover this just slightly
right.
for our
number
usual
one fan, Pocket
Pool. The gracious leader who gave us the helmet and a bunch of other
lent us all the swag.
He gets banned off Twitch for streaming movies. I mean,
was it worth it to see?
I don't know.
I don't know. Weekend at Bernie's,
right? Yeah, let's go to Pocket in the chat. Oh wait, he can't get in the chat because he's banned.
Oh, so Marcy with a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to you!
Happy birthday, indeed.
All right, turning 26 again. So
there it is.
Congratulations!
Oh man,
hope you had a good long weekend. You got rested up so you could be a part of the show.
Yeah, that's the only reasons, because she had a long weekend to catch up on some sleep.
All right, so she probably wants to hear who these sleepers, values, and breakouts are going to be, because Marcy, she's got to win the league. I think she was definitely in the contention this year.
Yeah, who's in for the listener league? I know we got Marcio and Pocket in there. Banjo, I'm guessing you're in, right? You got to be, right?
Yep.
Sogo?
NIU to KU has expressed interest, so
yeah,
we got some time still, but
I'm sure Greg will play.
Yeah.
I think we'll still have to figure out some rules.
We just rope him into every league I'm in.
We're just going to send it for every league.
All
right. So we're going over the RotoWire rankings list here. It's really just their preseason ADP list.
So this is PPR ADP, which is worth noting. And this time of year, you can find multiple different ADP lists from different sites, and they're all fairly close. So there's going to be a little wiggle from one to the other.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing crazy here. Basically, all the running backs coming off the board in the first 12 picks here. But is there anybody in the first 12 picks that really jumps out to you? We got McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Henry, Barkley, Taylor, Zeke Elliott, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Cam Akers.
Yeah, on that list, I'm pretty okay with that. We talked about a couple of those guys that I'm avoiding on our haters episode, but if you go down a little bit lower, a couple guys that I think are values, and part of why they're values is because they drop down to the second, third round range, but a couple guys that on some lists are going in the third, running back wise, J.K. Dobbins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I like both of them. Dobbins actually put up really nice numbers, even though he did have Ingram to compete with last year. He's going to be the guy this year. The next best guy on the team is Gus Edwards, who will get involved, but they gave him a lot more between the 20s work, and they were giving it to Dobbins to punch it in, and he did. He had, I want to say, the last 5 or 6 games of the year, like he had a touchdown in each game.
Yeah, I would think Dobbins would get most of that work, but there's worry across the Reddit interwebs that
Really?
Gus Bus is going to take a lot of touches from him. Lamar obviously is going to take touches because he's their RB1, but I don't know how much that leaves left over for Dobbins. I believe in Dobbins as a runner, but I just don't know in that offense that the defense knows they're not going to throw the ball very often. So they can stack the box. I don't know. I think he's got a really good floor of RB2. I just don't know if he's got the ceiling that some of the other guys have.
I like Dobbins' ability to break off large runs. He's got fairly decent breakaway speed. He doesn't catch the ball a lot. As he didn't last year, I think they could work it to him a little bit more. Lamar and him, I think if they'll develop that chemistry, I just think he's going to have a ton of touchdowns. I think he could be, top 10 for sure for touchdowns for running backs.
Greg is here, but he's got a bad connection. Go Bears.
Yep.
That's fine.
Go Bears.
We'll be over it. And then
let's see.
Banjo says,
get a better connection.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Right? Was it Dobbins who was anti-vax? I think that was a Cole Beasley. I don't know if you heard that
A
this
case
whole
of
thing
the
last
Beasley.
week, but he's just flaming people on the Twitterverse about vaccinations essentially.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Teach their own.
Yeah, exactly. This is America. If you want to get vaxxed, cool. If you don't, cool.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think really values on this list, I don't know. It's tough. I want to say Zeke at 7 is still a value, but, I'd probably still take Zeke over a couple of these other guys. I'd take Zeke over Kamara, Barkley, and honestly probably JT as well. So
Zeke.
I think there's a couple spots that he's fallen. Aaron Jones at 13.
Yeah,
is
Aaron
pretty
Jones is one that if you're drafting before the Aaron Rodgers thing gets figured out, he's still kind of going at if Rodgers is their value. But if it gets closer and people start freaking out and he drops down, he might be a guy you can snag and just take the gamble that Rodgers is going to be back.
Honestly, CEH at 28, I think, is an interesting player.
Yeah, because really they don't have anybody else on that team. Daryl Williams was there last year. He did not get really involved. I kind of view, here's a question that I've got for you in Dynasty. So Williams is kind of the guy that if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is there is going to get the other touches, I believe. However, if CEH goes down, I think Darwin Thompson is the better handcuff between those two guys to have because he will then slot into the CEH role.
I think CEH I think they got all their eggs in one basket. Honestly, I think we saw before that really any runner they put back there will be semi-proficient, but that line honestly wasn't very good last year. So I think they've made a lot of improvements. They just signed Eric Fisher to the line. So I think they're really trying to improve it, and I think they should just have a better run game in general. Honestly, I'm in on CEH, and I'm not in on anybody that comes in after him. I don't want to invest any draft capital, and it'll be just basically a waiver wire fight for whoever that next running back is.
Yeah, I think Darwin Thompson is just like if you're in a deep dynasty league, a stash you could put on your bench, and if Clyde goes down, he could have some value. He did come in at the end of last year and play in the playoffs when Helaire was hurt, and actually had some nice games.
I mean, we've seen with Spencer Ware, Kareem Hunt kind of came out of nowhere. Damian Williams came out of nowhere. So really, they've had some good guys show up and perform when they needed it. And really, that's because there's the threat of the long bomb touchdown to Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce all the time. So
it makes sense.
I think it really is going to open them up, and I think their line is going to be better. So I'm a little bit more into CH than I think most. And running backs are just so valuable in redraft that I'm probably taking CH above like Darren Waller's here at 20. I'm taking CH over Darren Waller. I'm probably taking CH over DK Metcalf, probably over Joe Mixon.
Oh, over Mixon, your guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Blasphemy.
But yeah, so I think he's probably at least a half a round too late. I could see him more at the end of the second.
Yeah, just the obvious guy who's going to get the carries on a high scoring offense.
And I think he'll get more hype kind of as we get closer to the season.
I could agree. After that, I'll talk about one that you don't like that I do. David Montgomery. He's going down in the later rounds, and if you can snag David with with your 4th round pick, I like it. I think that it's interesting because you're a big Jonathan Taylor fan. Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery both kind of had not great starts of the years. Hit that part of the year where it was just them. The other guys got out of the way.
No, hard pass.
That's for you.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
but I think that both of them, the schedule softened up. They had easy matchups at the end of the year, and then they showed what they could do against. But
the thing is, Dave Montgomery had an entire season to figure out the NFL, where JT came in with no preseason because of COVID and just had to figure it out on the fly. Honestly, I'm completely out on David Montgomery. I think he's just not very good. Somebody tried to trade him to me today, even though he wasn't even on the roster. Alex was trying to trade David Montgomery to me for the one.
He loves the quadruple trade.
He said he was going to send me David Montgomery and the 111 for the 1-3, which honestly, if you look at value, isn't the worst deal.
It's not too bad.
But I just don't like David Montgomery. I think he's replacement level as far as running backs go, and I just don't want to invest in it. So
yeah,
I'm still kind of.
I am worried that they're going to just overuse Cohen.
Cohen sucks.
But I think that they figured out that, hey, we play better when David gets more involved.
I mean, David Montgomery's right around here where Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Josh Jacobs, not Josh Allen, but Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin. I'm excited about a lot of these guys more so than David Montgomery. So I think somebody will take him there, but it won't be me. Don't mind me just absorbing knowledge, says Eli.
All right, Eli. I mean, it's all good.
That's what it's good for the brain. By the way, if you were here last week, Marcy was not, and you want to comment on how our stream looks, we're trying a little bit different setup. We got this new desk, so we want to try and set up a couple different ways, kind of preparing for the season and see what looks best for you guys. And
in which one do we look the thinnest?
Yeah, neither of them. I will answer that. The light up logo in the background is hot. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
My sister-in-law made that for us, and then
she made it. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
She's got one of those. What are the machines where I don't know. I'm not a crafty person in that way, but
that's fair.
There's some level of machine that ladies take and put logos on things, and she's got it.
All right, so I'm gonna get a little nerdy here. Both setups look good.
Do it.
So go. Thank you. Marcia says rude. I'm just saying you weren't here. You can't even say. I did notice the dust. Thanks. Well, there you go. Super cool. I like when you all are close enough to kiss.
Not today.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to
not
subscribe
today,
for more. That's a different channel.
Yeah, that's a tier 3 subscription. That's a totally different.
Yeah, you gotta
thing.
join the Patreon.
Yeah, that's on our OnlyFans account. All right, so I don't know if you're gonna believe this, but at 31, my sleeper, Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I think that he's fallen far enough. The problem with Thomas is there's just a lot of question marks. He's coming off a bad year. They're going to have a new quarterback situation. What's the offense going to look like? I did see reports coming out that they're going to lean on Kamara more at the start of the year. He is coming off an injury that looked like it was, clearing up at the end a little bit there. But he was the number one wide receiver by a mile just 2 years ago, and it's easy to forget. But I think that if you take the chance and you hit, it could be a league winner.
Have you heard of yards per route run? Have you heard this?
Like how deep their routes are? Or
no.
I
how
know
many
yards per reception.
How many yards they get? So if they run 250 routes, right, let's say, and they get 100 targets and they catch 70 of those targets, however many yards they get on those 70 targets divided by how many routes they ran. So basically the high-end receivers, so honestly, when you're trying to predict talent, there's almost no more reliable stat than yards per route run. So basically, every time that they run a route, on average, how many points do they get, or how many yards do they get? So like last year, Justin Jefferson was on a crazy pace. He was at 2.65 yards per route run. So you think he only gets 12, maybe 10 to 12 targets in a game, ideally. He runs probably 25. So if he's getting 60 yards or so, that's, 2.5 yards per route run or so far. I don't have the math in front of me.
I get the concept that it means that of the routes you're running, you're getting targets, and of those targets, you're getting catches for yards.
Correct.
Basically.
I mean, it seems oversimplified. It's like, if you just keep running routes and, you're on the field enough, you'll get enough opportunity, but it doesn't always work out like that. So yards per route run, your leaders are usually A.J. Brown, Michael Thomas, Justin Jefferson last year, Julio Jones. Those are your 4 big yards per route run guys, along with Devontae Adams, obviously, and DeAndre Hopkins. So those are kind of like your big names, and it seems obvious. They get a lot of yards per round, and those are the best wide receivers. It's easy to predict, but it's kind of a tool that you can predict future value. Michael Thomas, even last year, yards per route run, was still at like 2.7, which is huge. Anything over 2, they predict at least wide receiver one season. So Michael Thomas is still well in that category. He's still good. I think if you can get him at 31, basically the back end of the third round, that's a steal.
You're happy with him as your wide receiver 1. Man. If it's Jameis, I feel better about him than if it's Taysom Hill. I think so too, but still. All right, Marcy had Michael Thomas last year. She's been hurt. She said, "Not again."
Not up in here.
But we had the same thing with Deandre Hopkins. 5 years ago? He was on the bad Texans team when Brock Osweiler came in. He fell to like back end of the second.
The Brock.
He wasn't very good. And then the next year, they got a new quarterback, and all of a sudden he is top 2. I think we could see the same kind of thing because what do we know about Jameis Winston? He likes to let the ball fly.
He lets it fly to
whoever
wants to catch it. And Michael Thomas, he can go up and get it.
He's one of the most efficient wide receivers, technically. Yeah, I still think he's got bad hands, and he has a lot of boom bust. But with Jameis throwing the ball, I like Jameis more than I like Drew Brees throwing him the ball, honestly. I think it's an increase. Drew Brees focused on him, but Drew Brees just didn't have the arm at the end.
The other note about Michael Thomas is that they didn't bring any top-level wide receivers to really push him.
There's no competition.
For catches.
It's Kamara and Michael Thomas.
All right, next question we got in the chat. To me, Gaskin is going to be a dark horse. So Myles Gaskin, he's on people's radar. They liked him from last year. And my one note is that they did sign a running back. People don't realize, but Malcolm Brown, running back, he was on the Rams. They brought him in, and I think that
just a guy, though, right?
He is just a guy, but he's still somebody that wasn't there before. And I've heard a couple kind of analysts break down that they think that might hurt Gaskin more than people realize. But I still think he's going to get a lot of play. He actually had pretty good hands. Looked decent last year. He's not necessarily the guy that I'd want to have as my franchise running back, but for now, he should get work. And work and opportunity translate to fantasy points more often than not.
I would agree. Let's see. Who's your next player on your list?
All right. So after Montgomery, the next one I have is a wide receiver, and I'm not sure exactly. I used a different list to kind of write down some names that I liked. But Terry McLaurin, I think that he has the potential to be a guy that finishes in the top 5. So if you just passed on some of those elite wide receivers and you took running back, I think Terry, he's got Fitzmagic coming in who likes to air the ball out. He is the obvious number 1 on that team. They brought in Curtis Samuel, and
he's sandwiched, just so you guys know, sandwiched kind of in between Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb as far as wide receivers go.
Yeah, and I like those guys as well, but I think Terry is going to just be the absolute demand the most targets.
My problem with Terry is he doesn't score enough. You need touchdowns.
They had Alex checking it down every 2 seconds to McKissick.
How many touchdowns did Terry McLaurin have last year?
It's a good question. He was dealing with 2 high ankle sprains, I believe.
He had 3.
Okay.
3. I mean, that's just
one more than ankle sprain.
It's just not enough. I mean, he's hyper efficient. He's kind of like Allen Robinson in a way where he's getting bad targets and turning them into something, but he's not getting super deep targets.
He didn't have a great year. Part of it was because of quarterback play, and part of it was because of injury, and both of those things could change, and he could have better quarterback play and less injury.
I think McLaurin has one of the safest floors and just a limited ceiling.
I watched a game where they threw it to him over and over and over again, and they don't want to throw it to anybody else.
Well, they don't really have anybody else. Now they have Curtis Samuel.
Now Curtis, but I don't think that he's the guy that's – I think Curtis could be usable. He's an interesting guy, but – I don't think he's going to pull targets away from Terry.
I'm pretty much in agree. We got Logan
anything,
Thomas
maybe
there
it opens it up for him a little bit. All right, after that, Travis Etienne, rookie running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's going too low. I think that's going to creep up. Usually the rookie running backs, they start to creep up the closer you get to the season.
Banjo says Terry's maybe due for some touchdown regression the other way.
Positive regression towards the more touchdowns.
I think if he can get to 7-8, then I think we're having a different conversation. I just don't see him being able to achieve wide receiver 1 numbers only with 3 to 5 touchdowns.
You're breaking my balls here.
I think he'll get more touchdowns.
Very plausible. Very plausible.
But some of those concerns, and that's a good thing to point out, is like why some of these guys are going are because of the kind of concerns that Nick will point out. So that's why they're down. But I kind of give you the other side. Or again, if it switches, we can do that as well.
Yeah, no, because I hate everybody that you like.
There you go. He just hates them all.
All right, so I got one for you.
All right.
At number 48, that's the back end of the fourth, maybe the fifth round. Amari Cooper.
I wrote Amari Cooper on my list. He's the next one I had. Amari Cooper, if Dak's there and he's doing Dak things from last year, there's just a ton of volume. They were airing it out. Their defense should be better, but not great.
How old is Amari Cooper?
I want to say 26-7 range.
Yeah,
he's not
he's
that
still
old.
26. I think he'll turn 27 this season.
Okay.
Like, he's still got some
People
juice
feel
left.
like he's old.
I know. Well, he's been in the league for so long. He came in
true.
so
he has
young.
a different foot injury every year. But he actually played a lot of games last year. He was more consistent last year.
One of the most consistent wide receiver twos there was.
Yep.
And when you were getting into the
With
fifth round
Nuke.
almost, I mean, look, you got Kareem Hunt, basically the pick after him, and Julio Jones, the pick before him on this list. Kareem Hunt's the second running back on his team, and Julio Jones, we don't even know what team he's going to be on, and he's 32 years old. I still like Julio, but I'm taking Amari probably over Julio, and
I would
and
agree.
Redraft. even.
Redraft and Dynasty, yeah. Again, definitely.
I think that's completely fair.
All right,
I mean, right
so
after him, we got Thielen and Melvin.
Let's
Mclaurin
talk
and a
about
couple
the
other-
first quarterback on the list.
Okay.
So Justin Herbert, he's actually going fairly highly. I think people are onto him. He had, a pretty historically great rookie year, and they did a lot to add to that offensive line, which is part of why I like him. He was doing great things with the bad line. I still got Keenan Allen, who's a great wide receiver. Michael Thomas, who's oft injured, but as of the moment is healthy. They did draft a running back. What was his name? Josh Palmer? Nick doesn't pay attention to those later guys.
Josh Palmer went to the Chargers, I thought.
Chargers. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Then yes, I thought you were talking about the same.
So I'm not real excited about Palmer. He didn't have great college stats. People think that they're going to try and kind of develop him to be the next Michael Thomas or just Michael Thomas when he breaks his leg in week 2. But I like Herbert. I think that if you can get him lower than where he is on this list, if he falls a little bit, I think I might take the shot on him.
Yeah, because Herbert's way up here. He's at 52, which, again, I don't want to take a quarterback that high. I think
he's coming up. He's coming off on this list 4 picks after Dak, and I would probably take the chance on Dak before Herbert. But if Herbert falls 2 more rounds,
you want Herbert or Wilson right here. I mean,
Russ. I try to avoid Russell Wilson. I don't like him on a lot of levels. But
Marcia says she thinks she dropped Amari Cooper last year.
Ridley was my start as well. Ridley was my guy. That was one of the breakouts I called.
Ridley is surprisingly old.
If Julio Jones takes off, he's older than you would expect because he came out a little bit older, but he's still, what is he, 26, 27?
Yep, he's older than Amari Cooper.
That's a fun fact for you. Yeah. But Ridley, I think that he's poised to have a big year, especially if Julio goes out. Last year when Julio wasn't around, he had increase in targets, increase in fantasy points.
Honestly, we had problems with Ridley being hurt, though. I mean, I'm more...
He stayed pretty healthy through last year. The year before, he had a couple games that he missed. It is a concern.
I'm just thinking if he's the 1A and Julio's not there, I don't know. I'm a little more worried about Ridley, and I'm just not as high on him. I think he's still... I'm putting him in with Mclaurin. Pretty, really good wide receiver, too. High floor, but I just don't know if he's going to have the ceiling, especially since they didn't really address the line at all either, and they have no fear of a run game. So we'll have to see on Ridley. I think he's actually benefited if Julio stays, or if Pitts is better than I think he's going to be.
Yeah, love the Ridley.
Yeah, I'm going to get one for show. For show. I'm getting that for show.
Problem with Ridley that is worse than last year is he's just going a lot higher than he was. You could get him in like that 3rd, 4th round last year, where now you got to take him up high.
Right. All right. So let's move on here.
All right. So next one I have on my list is Brandon Nyuk. I know you're not a big 49ers guy, but he had a good rookie year. He's got another year in the system. We'll see if the quarterback play picks up with Lance. And he's just a guy that's very involved. They scheme for him specifically. Had some good fantasy production last year. So I like Ayuk.
So guess who had over 250 routes run and over 2 points or 2 yards per route run, which is kind of both the qualifying numbers. You need at least 250 routes run in a season and over 2 yards per route run average on that team. It's Deebo Samuel. So basically, those are the qualifying stats to most easily predict future wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 numbers. And if I'm buying into a piece, even just based on that stat, I'm going with Deebo Samuel. So I'm not as high as on night.
And you can get Deebo later on a lot of leagues.
For sure.
Yeah, the big concern with Deebo is health, but if he can stay healthy,
but that's the whole.
I like Deebo as well.
Yeah,
I think those two guys on the 49ers, if you can get one and he stays healthy.
I'm more curious to see who their quarterback's going to be.
I think it'll be Lance sooner than later.
Gotcha. I think you're probably correct.
All right, so the next one I have on the list, DJ Moore, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, and they've got a soft start of the season, and we all know that getting off to a good start at the beginning of the year is important. They did get rid of Curtis Samuel, so that opens up some targets. The big question mark is Sam Darnold. Will Darnold be good or not when he comes into the Panthers there? And I've heard it both ways. Some people think he's terrible and he's going to be awful. Some people say, oh, he just was poorly managed by the Jets and he's going to take off. Where do you stand on DJ Moore and the Carolina Panthers? Yeah, we got Nick laughing.
Flustered. There's nothing sexy about DJ Moore. There's just nothing.
I would love to have DJ Moore in Dynasty. I made an offer for him.
Really?
Man. I think I threw Juju in like a.
There's no ceiling. Same kind of thing. He's got an okay floor, but there's just no ceiling. Everything runs through Christian McCaffrey there. You can't count on good quarterback play. I'm not saying you're not going to get it. I'm just saying you can't count on it right now. Also, another fun fact: did you know Sam Darnold is a year younger than Joe Burrow?
I didn't know that.
Fun fact. Joe Burrow's 24. Sam Darnold is 23.
Ages. They're just numbers.
Just crazy.
So the chat says, Sogo says, I prefer Anderson to Moore. Again, I like Anderson. Also, he's one of the guys that I think is, like last year, he's just going too low. He's being disrespected. But I like DJ Moore this coming year to be the better wide receiver, to have more fantasy points. But if you can get the dip, get the value, because you can get Anderson later, I do like that.
I don't know. Around DJ Moore on here, we have Kenny Golladay, T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen. Honestly, I'd probably rather have any of those guys over DJ Moore.
Yeah, T. Higgins is another guy I have on the list. I think that some people will shy away because Jamar Chase got drafted, but he has good talent. He showed some things last year. This will be his second year. He had some chemistry with Burrow. I've said it before, but concerned about Burrow's health. I'm concerned about that offensive line, their ability to protect him, their ability to get the running game going. But Higgins, I like his talent.
Yeah, no, I like Higgins as well, and I don't think his role is going to... I think he's going to get faded because Jamar Chase is in town now, and I'm not that worried about it. Also, I saw somebody that said... I think Marcy said earlier that Andrews was going to be a top 3 tight end this year for the Ravens.
I have seen a case for Andrews having a bounce-back year. I don't know. They brought in 2 wide receivers in Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace.
Until they get a quarterback, I just don't think they can support one. A top 3 tight end.
Yeah. I don't know, man. They don't love to pass, but when he did pass, he does target Mark Andrews. How many touchdowns? Do you know off the top of your head how many touchdowns he had?
Mark Andrews?
I think he was down this past year from the year before, so maybe that comes up a little bit. But he does. Andrews is part of that offense. He gets involved, and Lamar likes to throw it to him when he does throw.
He had 7 touchdowns. And
okay,
he had 10
so
the year before.
Pretty good touchdown numbers. So if you come back to 10, that makes a difference. But he was usable last year, but he didn't necessarily return value where you took him.
That was Soga that said that about Andrews, I believe. Yeah, now you're trying to put it off on somebody else.
All right.
Nice try, Mark. Nice try.
She's watching. We're just making sure you're paying attention.
Just keeping you honest.
Happy to have you back.
Right?
Fishing for comment.
For sure. All right, you ready for my next one?
I am.
Number 84, Courtland Sutton.
Courtland Sutton is actually the next one I have on the list, and coming off of an injury.
Are we agreeing on things?
We're agreeing on some things here. Just
tide's turning.
You won't be in on the next one. So Courtland Sutton, coming off an injury, I have heard a lot of good reports coming out of that camp that he's like a leader in the locker room, that he's fully healthy, he's going to be ready to go for the start of the season. I was a little bit out on Courtland last year where he was going, but now he's fallen low enough because of the injury.
84.
Because you didn't see him last
6th, 7th round.
Yeah, if you can snag him and he can be close to what he was before the injury, you're going to get a steal there.
I think he'll go up some draft boards as we get closer to the season as well.
Or he might be a guy that stays low in average draft position, but when you get to your actual draft, if you're playing with some savvy people, somebody reaches for him.
Yeah, I think that could be as well, but I'd love to roll into the season with Courtland Sutton being my wide receiver too. just take a couple of big running backs, take a wide receiver, and then you can kind of punt for a couple rounds and grab some luxury picks while you take Cortland Sutton later. I think that'd be a pretty sly move, honestly. If you
so we talked about Robbie Anderson, just under Cortland Sutton, a couple picks at 88 is Robbie. So.
Cortland Sutton's going after Raheem Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Odell Beckham Jr., A.J. Dillon. I mean,
Odell is an interesting name.
It's a joke.
At 78, like, do you want to roll out and take the chance on Odell being the guy for the Browns?
Going after Gaskin, and
I think Cleveland's going to run the ball a lot this year. They've got a good run blocking offensive line. They've got 2 good running backs. So I don't know if they're going to need high volume passing. And also, I don't think they're better without Odell, but I think that just they figured out that going a little bit shorter game with Jarvis worked well for them.
Ayuk, I think we just touched on Ayuk a little bit.
Yep, I like Ayuk.
Michael likes Ayuk. I'm more of a Debo guy.
Nick feels like if you can get Debo a little later, I think that they could have a similar year.
Debo just graded out a little bit higher, and
that's fair.
A little bit more limited work, I think. But
whichever one's healthy when the actual season starts, pick that one, right?
Honestly, yeah.
All right. Going down the list, quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins isn't a guy that I grab most of the time, but he did have a good year. He's got 2 good weapons in Thielen and Jefferson. We didn't talk about him earlier in the list. One of the guys we skipped over, Adam Thielen, is going pretty low in a lot of leagues, and he was, whatever move he was using to get into the end zone, he had a lot of touchdowns last year. I don't know what would necessarily change to bring down that kind of efficiency. He's 1 year older. He's an older guy, but
and people might
Thielen.
start keying in more on Justin Jefferson, which might leave Thielen open a little bit more. I mean, Kyle Rudolph's gone. I mean, it's really just a 2-man show, and then Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, Jefferson will get more yards, more targets, but he could have less touchdowns, I believe.
Yeah, we're going to lose Sogo here, but I don't like Tannehill at all.
Tannehill? Greg, if he's in here with his bad connection, he's used Tannehill the last couple of years to take him to the playoffs, and he's won a couple. So
Tannehill's up here with Joe Burrow, and honestly, I think all these quarterbacks.
Tannehill's efficient. He has good consistency. And again, he has A.J. Brown, who gets the ball and runs into the end zone for a receiving touchdown. So
A.J. Brown, I think I was sleeping on A.J. Brown a little bit. I was coming around midseason last year, but
the hype has grown.
He's good.
The hype has grown, but he's a beast. He's a monster. They did lose 2 offensive weapons, though. They lost the guy the Jets signed,
Corey Davis,
and then they also lost
high on that
Jonnu Smith
yards per route run. Corey Davis way up.
Corey Davis is interesting. I did see in a report that I think he had a little shoulder injury. He was a shoulder or hamstring today in camp, so plenty of time to heal up. But
yeah, honestly, A.J. Brown for Dynasty might be your wide receiver 1.
It could happen. I don't know.
Who'd you rather have more than A.J. Brown in Dynasty?
In Dynasty, I like to have a lot of guys better than A.J. Brown. I like A.J. Brown, but I don't. Again, there's still a low passing volume offense. People are like, oh, all those targets that are gone are going to go to A.J. Brown. I don't think they can. I don't think it'll work that way. If you watched him last year, there was a lot of times he went down, came up limping, looked like he was going to go out, played through it. To his credit, his good toughness, but I worry about his health and holding up.
I'm just trying to vet your statement here.
And again, I think that there's also the possibility for that touchdown regression. He has been hyper efficient. He has gotten into the end zone, but a couple of those games, if he doesn't get the touchdown, he ruins your week. And I did have him on a team last year, and there were those weeks where he did not get into the end zone, and he had 4 targets, and he hurt you bad.
Tannehill is definitely in the bottom third of total pass attempts. So give me credit on that. He's got 481, and if we go up to the middle ground where Matt Stafford is, it's 528. So 50 attempts difference. So I could agree, but again, like you said, we're missing a whole other player that they were relying on last season. So
in the sleeper category, a guy that not a lot of people will be drafting, Josh Reynolds, they did sign to the team, and a lot of the analysts, if you listen to other shows, they say, "Oh, Josh Reynolds, he's just a guy. Oh, Josh Reynolds, he's not good." I watched Josh Reynolds on the Rams, and he was actually, I think he's a good player. I think he's better than people are giving him credit for, and he's a guy that if he can take that Corey Davis role, Corey Davis nobody liked, nobody thought Corey was good, and he went there, got that role where A.J. Brown and the run game demand all the attention, and he was just open to catch balls. And I think Josh Reynolds could be what Corey Davis was last year. You think that Corey Davis is miles ahead of Josh Reynolds?
For sure.
He was a higher draft pick, but
much better. All right, next on my list, Marcy said A.J. Brown helped her team last year. A.J. Brown is flex. He's not a flex. Is that what you're trying to say?
Again, so there's some other people that aren't as high on A.J. Brown, but people are just projecting him for 1 billion targets, and they also, because of how he's played, think that all of those targets are turning into touchdowns. So maybe.
Okay. I got a question for you. Who had the most receptions for the Seahawks last year?
Receptions, it felt like DK, because there were a lot of games where he definitely had the most fantasy points. Lockett had some big blow-up games, but there were a lot of games where he disappeared because DK was getting the ball. But was it Mike Davis or what's his name?
No, Tyler Lockett had 100 receptions. DK Metcalf had like 81.
Okay.
Like a pretty significant difference. That's why I'm just saying, like, I don't think we can necessarily judge, teams just on total points. Like, I think A.J. Brown's going to be relied on more than you think, and it's not always about total targets and total receptions because A.J. Brown does a lot with the receptions. He's just hyper efficient. He scores a ton. If he can just get a few more targets, I don't see how he's not a top 5.
As it sits right now, I also think that team's going to be worse. They are one that's in the running for Julio, but they could have a lot less touchdowns.
But Tannehill's going to launch it, and if they're down in games, it makes sense that they're going to throw it more.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that just they could score less points overall, could have less touchdowns, and that team, more than any, if their main guys don't get touchdowns, like you had games where
and you still have Derrick Henry
get a touchdown, and it would just.
I know, but the other team has to respect Derrick Henry so much that AJ Brown just gets loose. So I'm still in on him. You guys don't have to.
Yeah.
I think you may need to change
I think it'll be very
Jag to
good.
Ram, really average man with all the love you have for the former Rams. You do like the former
The Rams have had a good offense. They have good
Wait for him
players.
to talk about Goff as a sleeper.
Van Jefferson is a sleeper, a guy that they took in the second round last year, and I think he's going to take that Josh Reynolds role. I don't think Tutu Atwell, the guy they drafted this year, is going to be anything.
Josh Reynolds didn't do anything.
Van Jefferson could be a flex, and
he can take his role. There wasn't a role.
If Woods, who's getting older, gets hurt, then Van Jefferson takes off. Guy to keep in your mind, on your radar.
Woods is going to be.
Pick him up off the waivers if one of those other guys goes down.
All right, you're going to like my next guy here.
Is it Brandon Cooks?
It's not Brandon Cooks. I'm skipping right over Brandon Cooks for Jarvis Landry.
All right.
At 107.
Jarvis is kind of a poor man's Robert Woods. He's just always out there.
But Robert Woods is going at like 40.
He plays every game, even if his leg's hanging on by a thread. He gets receptions. He's good in PPR, and half not quite as good, but he did very much emerge, I felt, at the end of last year as the number one wide receiver on that team. Baker and him developed some chemistry. So I've got Jarvis in Dynasty. I'm not expecting him to carry the team, but if you need a third or fourth wide receiver, a depth piece, he's just a good, consistent guy.
We need a board in the back. I said Brown is flex, and you disagreed. He's not a flex. He's a high-end wide receiver.
Yeah, no, he's not going to be drafted as a flex. That's for sure.
No. But yeah, I think Jarvis Landry is super consistent. I think Baker relies on him. I don't trust OBJ just yet. Landry's annoying, but honestly, you're getting him here at flex pricing around guys like Mike Gesicki, Zach Moss, Damian Harris. Like Jarvis Landry has so much more utility than these other guys.
Yeah, and if you watch Jarvis through the playoffs, he looked good in the playoffs too. Sometimes we lose sight of that.
And again, like you mentioned before, their offensive line is
solid. They got pieces. Yeah,
they're solid.
They got the Browns. Are sneaky good, like on paper.
I wouldn't want to play.
They'll find a way to Browns it, but
honestly, they did it without a whole lot of fantasy output last year. Like Landry was good, not great. Chubb was really good. Hunt was good, not great.
Like, you forget how good Chubb was because he had that time that he missed in the middle of the season. So
for sure,
a lot of
Marcy says, "Are we doing another mock draft this summer?" For sure,
absolutely.
For sure. We might do 10.
We can do it next week.
We'll
do it live. We'll do it now.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We're doing it.
All right.
Who else you got here
Marcy,
on your
if
list?
you ask for it, we'll do it.
We'll do it. Are you going to show up?
Except for the OnlyFans thing.
Yeah. Depends on the price.
Whoa. That's all right. Next one on the list. Let's talk about... No, I got a couple. I'll just read off some that were going in that range. One that I know you don't like, Brandon Cooks. He does have a concussion history. He could get a concussion. It could end him. But if he doesn't, he's the obvious number one wide receiver on his team. He's going low. He consistently puts up 1,000-yard seasons. He's good every year. Again, if you just follow consistency in history, he's going to finish as the wide receiver 15. Even with no quarterback. There were guys, Terry Mclaurin, again, Terry wasn't great last year, but there have been teams after team after team that have bad quarterbacks where they're still the number one wide receiver is fantasy relevant. Yeah. Brandon Cooks will be relevant. He did great at the end of last year. Will Fuller's out of town.
A couple other names.
Give the opportunity.
You want Brandon Cooks or do you want Jerry Judy like 5 picks earlier?
I want Brandon Cooks this year in Dynasty Jerry Judy.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Another name that you just highlighted, Jalen Waddle. So wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins.
Then he waddled away, waddle, till the very next day.
Could be waddling into some points, though. He's a dynamic
spot behind
player.
Gainwell, like
He's going late.
He's going real late. I think there's enough opportunity here for Jalen Waddle where I'd take him at this point, if not maybe a little bit earlier.
A late round flyer if he stays low.
Yeah, no, he's one of those guys. He could be nothing, but he could be very good. He's got the draft. I mean, he was drafted in the top 10. I mean, how do you have a guy drafted in the top 10 and he's going 120 in mocks? I mean, that's a little low.
There's a handful of running backs in this range that if you're desperate because you passed on them early and everybody snagged everybody. Yemi Hines, running back for Indy, he had some good games last year. I think he'll still be involved. James Conner, if he can kind of take over, the big draw to James Conner, I know Nick hates him, but if he can be the goal line back on that team and just even punch it in, he can be relevant as a flex.
They don't need a goal line back. They have A.J. Green.
And Michael Carter, rookie for the New York Giants. Sounds like he's taking first-team reps, and
Michael
there's
Carter's
nobody really good on that team right now as far as running back.
I think it's between him and Ty Johnson. I think Ty Johnson's worth a flyer because he's basically going to be free at the end of the
Ty
draft.
has gotten the opportunity in the past and not been good.
Yeah, I know, but he's going to be free. We haven't even gotten to his name.
Carter.
He's way low.
Was Carter Ohio State?
No.
Okay, or North Carolina?
Carter was North Carolina.
Okay.
Him and Javante.
Yeah, so he was the other half of North Carolina's running backs.
He was the 1A. And
and he had some good games. He's got some talent.
He's not bad.
He's a smaller guy.
He's not bad. No, I think Jalen Waddle, though, like you said, at 120, I mean, he's a steal. I like how Daniel Jones is above Ben Roethlisberger. I just want to
I don't know. Greg says Ty was good for his opportunity. I think he's the dynasty owner. He's just hoping the league mates will watch and he can sell him. But
he was okay.
When he got the chance for the Lions, he wasn't good. When he got the chance for the Jets, he wasn't great.
I'm going to rapid fire a couple here. Corey Davis at 126, I like. Antonio Brown at 129. Honestly, I think...
Yeah, if Corey Davis can take over and be the guy, they just paid him.
Yeah, I think Antonio Brown could be a wide receiver too this year. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
He had a good playoff run. If Godwin or Mike Evans, we talked about, he's actually been healthier than he seems, but if he comes up with a hamstring injury...
I think Godwin's more likely to get hurt, but I think even still, I think Antonio Brown's got...
Godwin missed multiple games last year.
And one I want to key in on here, I know I said it last week.
Trey Sermon.
All
right, give us a sermon.
Trey Sermon, 136, going with Alexander Madison, backup. Devin Singletary, terrible. Marvin Jones, new team, old. J.D. McKissick, barely on a team. I mean, I would rather so much have Trey Sermon, who could be, honestly, a top 10 running back.
I like it. I like Trey Sermon. Wayne Gallman's still on the team, and Gallman actually was okay last year for the Giants. Again, he's just a guy who's there.
Come on.
Elijah Mitchell, the other guy that's on the team, people like his talent. Some people had him graded higher going into the season. Again, it's not just Trey Sermon and no one.
It's just Trey Sermon.
But the path is there for opportunity, and if he can take over that backfield and be the guy, hopefully he can stay healthy. He's a little bit more solid of a running back than they usually use.
Trey Sermon, they spent like a decent amount of draft capital on, and they didn't spend any draft capital on anybody else. They only paid Jerick McKinnon. Like, that's all they've done with the running back position in the last 5 years. I'm good with Trey Sermon, especially at 136.
Where he's going, 100%.
I take him much higher than I take Trey Sermon over Gus Edwards. I'm trying to think of other running backs. Kenneth Gainwell. I'm taking Trey Sermon way ahead of Kenneth Gainwell. Yeah. Like, not even close. Ahead of James Conner, ahead of Nyuk Hines, ahead of Michael Carter. Honestly, I'm probably taking him in the top 100. In the first 9 rounds, I'm taking Trey Sermon. Easy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Easy here.
He'll be a guy that you keep hearing his name on different shows as being, undervalued and a sleeper, and he'll shoot up the board.
Yeah.
All right, next one we got Jerry Judy is interesting. He just came out, has a lot of talent. I'm worried about the Denver. Cortland Sutton comes back, but I'll keep an eye on Judy. He did have a tough schedule last year, but he did eclipse that 600-yard mark in his rookie season. Then you get down to the 9th round. So now we're going kind of more of the sleepers. Some of the tight ends that are coming off the board late I like are Ingram and Higbee. Ingram had a lot of targets last year. It's kind of crowded right there in New York, but again, he's a guy he's got good hands. He was drafted to get receptions.
Yeah, and I think Higbee, like you mentioned, I think we'll know in the first week or two if Higbee is going to be anything, because I think they'll use him a lot right away, or it's just not going to be a thing. We saw last year or the last 2 years, when Everett was out, Higbee was reliable every single week. If Higbee doesn't come out with Stafford and have any type of rapport week 1, week 2, I'm out on Higbee. But I agree with you. I think there could be something there, even though Stafford's not really known to utilize his tight ends a ton. He started to use Hawkinson there towards the end, but he's just more of a one wide receiver kind of guy.
All right. Another guy going in the 9th round, wide receiver, Michael Pittman for the Colts. I like him. He's a big-bodied guy. He got a little bit of opportunity. He didn't quite explode like I hoped he would last year. It's his second year in the system. T.Y. Hilton's getting old. And if Paris Hilton, I was looking at T.Y. Hilton and I said they made the same mistake on the footballers. But if Paris Campbell, if he comes back and is still injured, he's had injuries his first 2 years. Some people are projecting him to be the breakout. But if one of those guys can emerge as the number one wide receiver on that team, I think you can take the dart throw, and they could be valuable. Next one on the list, we got a couple handcuffs. So Tony Pollard, because I think Zeke is washed and is going to get an injury and miss time this year. Tony Pollard looked good last year in relief. Hopefully that team's going to score. And the other one, Latavius Murray. So Alvin Kamara, he had a good year, and he stayed healthy, but they want to use him a lot if his volume goes up. I think Latavius is a valuable handcuff that could get some work on the goal line.
I just don't think there's any value in picking up handcuffs in today's NFL. Like I just don't.
If you're going like zero wide receiver and you're just trying to get guys who have an opportunity, a path to points,
I just don't think it's a very good option. I think I'd rather take any of these other guys we talked about above those two.
Those are going in like the 9th round.
Yeah, I'd rather take Trey Sermon, 100%.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think there's a few guys I'd rather take over. I just don't want to clog my roster up with handcuffs. Like, I just don't want to do it. I think Tony Pollard, I think you can make a case. I think Madison, you can make a case. But, like, I just don't. You getting Chubba Hubbard?
So, in Dynasty, I am a fan of taking a lot of handcuffs and filling up my benches with, like, 5 running back handcuffs because it's hard to find, guys that are going to get the opportunity, and there are injuries that occur. In redraft, I like to have a couple of the key ones. Some of the guys that I think could be a running back 1, or high-end running back 2 if the other guy goes down, like Pollard, Madison. Those guys sometimes late in the draft I'll throw on the bench and hope that...
A.J. Dillon, I mean, I think that's what the believers are thinking with A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, and I like to handcuff my own guys. So if I took Aaron Jones and I could have Dillon, I like that. If I have Cook and I can get Alexander Madison, I like that. Stuff like that. Because then you have just... If your guy goes down, then you don't have to worry about getting another guy because you just plug in that next one.
All right, I want you to pick the wide receiver, Denzel Mims or Henry Ruggs.
Oh, so there are 2 descriptors for players that I don't like, and one is field stretcher, and the other one is gadget. If he's a gadget guy or a field stretcher, I don't want him. Ruggs is the epitome of a field stretcher. If you can get like a field stretcher, so if you get Hollywood Brown, if you get Henry Ruggs, if you get Mecole Hardman. If you get one of those guys late in your draft and they go off in the first game of the season, I'm immediately trying to trade those field stretchers because they're very boom bust. They're hard to predict. You don't know when you can play them. They can kill you if they just go out there, get one reception, don't catch their touchdown. The other one you said, who was it?
Denzel Mims.
So Mims, I think that just the Jets right now, it's a crowded receiving core. They've got Crowder there still. They signed Corey Davis. They drafted Elijah Moore. It's just, I'll be keeping an eye on it to try to figure out who's going to emerge.
There's rumors that Crowder's going to get cut.
I don't know if I want to. I know that he's a medium cap hit, but I don't think it's a good move for them. They've got plenty of cap space as well.
This is like Greg's dynasty team stuff.
We're just chopping it up. You have potential.
All right, Kadarius Toney or Terrace Marshall?
I'll take Terrace Marshall.
Okay, I think that's fair.
I think that Terrace could emerge more than people think this year. As far as
Kadarius Toney was a first-round draft.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney drafted by the New York Giants rookie. Terrace Marshall drafted by the Carolina Panthers. Was Terrace in the 3rd round?
Terrace, I think, was in the 3rd round.
Okay, so that's the only thing for Kadarius Toney is he got good draft capital. But you know what the descriptor for Kadarius Toney is? Gadget. The gadgety guy. And I'm trying to avoid those guys because it's, I don't know. They get involved, but they don't seem to help your dynasty team.
I got a name.
Fantasy team.
I got an interesting one here.
Here it comes.
MVS.
Marquez Valdez the Scantling.
I'm not even going to give you another wide receiver.
Out. He's kind of the field stretcher. He doesn't have great hands.
MVS, his average yards per catch was just over 20.
He had usable games, but he was, again, field stretcher, hard to predict. Had games where he disappeared.
Today's NFL, where the Packers especially play a lot of primetime games, you could do worse than if you're down by like 30 points, having MVS on your roster to just throw in a flex spot to try and win you a week. Like, I think there's a role for MVS that's not a weekly starter. Like, I don't think he has to be a weekly starter. And if you're in best ball, like, I think MVS is a pretty good asset for best ball.
Yeah.
But
so we got a rookie question:
Kadarius
Toney or Equanimous St. Brown? And I think
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Or I'm sorry, Equanimous is the Packers player who's not very good, but his brother Amon-Ra St. Brown,
who's also not very good.
Man, for a 1 year, who I think will be better in their freshman year, I think that St. Brown will have the better incoming year because he's going to have more opportunity. There's no other wide receivers to push him on the Lions. But I think that Kadarius Toney will have the better NFL career. I think that he's got more burst. I think that a year from now, the New York Giants will clear house on some of their wide receivers, and he'll get more of the lead role.
The last player I kind of want to cover real quick, and I didn't even know I was going to cover this player, Jared Cook, going to the Chargers.
Cook. So that's a good late round value if you want to completely wait on tight end. Take it with your last pick. Right now, the Los Angeles
Chargers?
Yeah, Chargers. Pardon me. So the Chargers, they did draft, I want to say it's Hunter Long, the tight end, and a couple people are hyped on him in rookie drafts, but Cook, he had how many touchdowns last year? I think you talked about it in the last show.
He had 7.
7. So if he can pull out 7 touchdowns.
The same amount of touchdowns as Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
With a much better quarterback.
And they're kind of the two main guys, so Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And after that, I think the tight end is going to get passing work.
Pounds Gaming, if he doesn't have a team still as the fantasy football season comes along, is Julio worth the risk, or is he projected around 50th overall? I think, honestly, I'd say there's a 60% chance he gets traded. Here's the thing about Julio. He's either still got it and he is an elite top 5 wide receiver and athletic freak, or he's done. Like, I think there's no middle ground. So I'm okay buying in Julio one more year, especially if he goes to a good spot or if he stays with the Falcons. I'm still in on him, especially like you mentioned. If he's around 50 and you can get Julio in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, then absolutely I'm taking Julio there.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't have a team, that's a big red flag because the teams that have been floated out there, I think, are going to hurt his value if he goes to the Titans or if he goes to the Patriots.
I think there was 19 teams that he was talking to.
Those are the ones that appear the most likely to get him, in my opinion. If he goes to the Patriots, he's the obvious number 1. If he goes to the Titans, he's kind of the 1B. Both of them.
I don't know.
Cam didn't throw a lot last year. We're still not real psyched about McCorkle Jones. The Titans don't like to throw the ball.
I'd feel more comfortable if I knew it was going to be McCorkle.
I am avoiding Julio personally, especially where he's going now. But I think he's still going at the Falcons numbers. So if he drops dramatically,
I think he still plays. There's still a chance that he plays for the Falcons, and if he does, then I'm still taking him as the.
If Julio Jones
10th wide receiver
was on the Patriots, what round should he be drafted in?
Probably around the 50th pick. I mean, I don't love him with the Patriots. I just don't like the Patriots.
Okay.
I just don't think with Cam behind center, I just don't love any receiving option there. I don't care who it is. If he goes to the Titans, I'm still okay. I'd love him to go to the Chargers. I'd love for him to go to the Packers, or I'd love for him to go to the Bears. If he went to the Bears, I'd be in on him.
If he didn't have a team and the season was coming around, I'm drafting. I'm not taking him before the 5th round.
Well, I mean, he's on a team. They're not going to drop him.
We're not sure that's where he's going to be.
I don't know. I'd say if you're drafting now, then yes, I'm okay with taking him at 50.
I'm not taking him now where he's going.
At 50? Okay.
Where's he going right now?
50.
50? No, I'm not taking him at 50.
Our boy here looked it up. Julio's 47. So you can get Robert Woods or Julio.
I'm taking
Amari Cooper, Kareem Hunt, Deontay
Johnson's interesting. He actually finished below Juju and Claypool last year in points, although he had like 30 more targets.
Julio doesn't have the ability to hold out, I don't think. Not in today's NFL, now that they changed the CBA, and because he's 32 years old. I just don't think he's got enough. I don't think he's got enough backup to hold out. I just don't think. I mean, he would just retire.
No, he doesn't have enough years. Yeah.
No, I just don't think it's a viable option for him. That's why I think all this is kind of coming out now, where he's kind of trying to force his way. I don't even know if he's trying to force his way. It was a hot mic that came out at a bad time. Players say crap all the time, We want to get rid of him because his $37 million contract. We need that cap to sign rookie class. Like, I get that, but
makes sense.
I think he's supposed to make $15 million this year. Like, the Falcons are going to have to come up with some of that money if they're going to try and trade him, or the new team is going to have to renegotiate the contract terms, which I think I saw floated today. So I still think he's a tough move, and the teams that can spend that capital, like, I don't know if you love him going to the Jets. I mean, the teams that actually
the Jets have enough wide receivers.
Do they have any good ones?
The Chargers is the one where I think maybe you could kind of hold near what he's got in value right now because people are high on Herbert.
There's just not a whole lot of teams that can take on $15 million for a wide receiver that's also that old. I just don't think. I'll take the Jets first rounder of that. Exactly. You probably take the Jets second rounder.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if anything, he maybe renegotiates and stays in Atlanta.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
In at that case, I'm taking him higher than 50.
I think that Atlanta is the best case scenario if he stays with the team.
Yeah, no, there's actually guys ahead of him here. Like I'd probably take Chris.
I'd take Godwin ahead.
I'd probably take Godwin. No, I'm not a big Godwin fan.
Lamb is interesting.
I'd take Lamb over Julio. I'd take Evans over Julio, just from what we know now. But really, anybody after here, like Amari Cooper is bubble, but I don't want Deontay Johnson over Julio. I don't want Thielen over Julio.
And neither of us is real high on Deontay Johnson.
No, Deontay Johnson. I actually like Deontay Johnson.
In a PPR, maybe I'd take the chance.
If Juju was gone, I'd so much. I trust Deontay Johnson so much more. But Deontay Johnson, same thing. Yards per route run, pretty high.
Deontay, the Pittsburgh wide receiver.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I think in every game that he finished, he had at least like 12 or 13 targets. Like just hyper.
Oh, we do not view Kenny Galladay as a buy.
So I'm already going to lose our new guy here, Pounce Gaming, but I'm expecting a big season from
if
Daniel Jones.
If you're new to the channel and haven't watched before, I hate Daniel Jones. I don't think he's good. I think he loves to turn it over, and he's not going to make any wide receiver good on that team.
Do you know who had tied for the most times hitting 20 miles per hour while running the ball last year? Daniel Jones.
Before he tripped and fell on his face, I do recall
that.
Know, he was going so fast.
Yeah, but don't you want that if you have Saquon Barkley able to run the in?
Fell on his face.
Who had the most accurate deep ball rate of 20-yard plus passes?
Hard pass.
It's Daniel Jones.
Hard pass.
He's accurate on the deep ball. He's quick and Daniel Jones will finish top 16 among quarterbacks.
I hate Daniel Jones. He's terrible. That whole wide receiver core, there's a lot of talent, but it's just going to spread things out. Don't like Kenny Galladay this year. I don't like Kadarius Toney's outlook for this fantasy football year. Sterling Shepard, I think, is basically destroyed. I got him on Dynasty. I want to lie to say that he's going to be good, but I don't think he is.
I actually tried to trade for Daniel Jones a few days ago, and it didn't get picked up.
Evan Ingram, I like as a tight end. Hopefully he can stay involved just because he runs different kind of routes, but I'm worried about Ingram. I just think, the targets, they're going to be spread out. Half the time they won't have the ball because Daniel Jones just fumbled it away.
That was me, Pounce Gaming. That was me. We were playing some RL.
All right, let me run down a couple quick ones.
Okay.
Some of these running backs that are going late, I don't like them, but again, they're going to return a little bit of value maybe. So Zach Moss, I took my chance on him last year. He wasn't good, but if you can get a starting running back on a team that gets the goal line work
Trey Sermon
as late as he's going, I like Trey Sermon better. But let's say Nick reached for Trey in the 9th. He's a starting running back on a team. That's all I'll say. He had some injuries last year. He had some moments where he looked good.
On a high-powered offense.
Jamal Williams, again, there have been some good reports. Maybe he gets involved. I think that he's going to get involved a little bit for the Lions. The Lions, though, not psyched about their team. Cole Beasley going very late, and we just game after game last year, Beasley kept popping up, having 10 to 15-point games.
I expect Gabe Davis to take a step forward. They signed Emmanuel Sanders. I know John Brown's gone, but I just don't think Cole Beasley is going to have the same output he had last year, especially a year older. I think they're trying to move away from him, to be honest. Especially, honestly, it seems dumb, but after the comments that he made, too, the past couple of weeks about vaccinations and whatnot, you just can't do that in the NFL anymore. Like, you just can't do it on social media anymore. And if he's going to be
Kirk Cousins
attacking people
like
and put controversial stuff out of there, especially for his role on the offense, like, they'll just cut him.
Nah, I think that's less. I think you can recover from that kind of controversial. There's other stuff you can't say, but
I would agree. But here's the thing: I just did want to touch on Galladay one more time. Galladay's going at number 59 between T. Higgins and DJ Moore. Kenny Galladay was seen as a top 8 wide receiver last year. That's where he was drafted, and he was disappointed. We might have a Mike Evans situation, or not a Mike Evans, Michael Thomas situation where we're just totally devaluing Galladay too far.
Hold on here. So go high with a hot take in the chat.
Oh, hot.
Here it is. Put this on the board in the back. All right, Jamal Williams, running back 1 by week 8. I like it a lot. I've got Jamal Williams in Dynasty. Nick is the
Swiftie,
the Swift owner. So I think that
where's Todd Gurley going to fit into this?
For a guy who's just always bashing Cooks for his concussion history, Swift had a concussion last year.
He had 1. Cooks has 12.
Those things can pop back up.
What do you mean?
You gotta get Swifty.
I don't know, man. I like it. Jamal Williams. I'm holding on to hope. But there are a couple guys, and Jamal Williams is one that I think less a handcuff and more could just be another running back on a team that gets, 10 carries a game, can have sometimes that flex appeal if your guy gets hurt, goes down. The other one I wanted to bring up
Here's the thing. If that's your running back, you're going to lose. That's just it.
If that's your running back that you start the year with as your starting running back, fine. But when Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley go down and blah, 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 at the late parts of the year when people are playing McKissick and people are playing...
No, that's the thing is you'll just lose. It's
people won with those guys. You need to have running back depth.
Nobody won with Jamal Williams last year.
Game longer season, not last year, but maybe this year. Maybe he's that guy that just, when all the running backs go down.
If you have to start Jamal Williams at any time during the season, besides just a bye week fill-in, you're going to lose.
If Swift goes down and Jamal Williams is the guy on the Lions, he's
not dynamic enough.
That
offense isn't good enough.
He'll have starting
Jamal Williams, at best, if he gets every single touch in that offense, is a 10-point per week guy.
Jeff Wilson.
Max.
Jeff Wilson.
Max.
Jeff Wilson winning leagues out there.
Who said Jeff Wilson?
Again, Darwin Williams. So some of these guys, are not Darwin Thompson.
Jeff Williams is on an offense that knows how to run the
Wilson.
ball. Jeff Wilson.
He
was on an offense that knew how to...
That's fair.
Yeah.
So the guy who's on a team that is good at running the ball... Daryl Henderson is another guy who's going real late that I think, if you throw him on the end of your bench.
No, neither of these guys are
Akers isn't going to get the volume he got at the end of last year when Williams was hurt. And he had multiple games where he was usable last year.
We don't even need to talk about him because if you have to start these guys, if you're looking at these guys, you're going to lose. That's just it. Trey Sermon, at least, he could be a top, an RB1 in that offense. That's why I'm hyping Trey Sermon up. Honestly, if you get past number 25 on this list, if you're running back at the beginning of the season or any time during the season is, let's see, Kareem Hunt. If he's your RB1, you're going to lose.
No, but what if he's your RB2 because your other RB went down? And the other team's running.
If he's your RB2, you're fine. But I'm like, these guys can't. I'm not
saying draft these with your first pick in the draft. I'm saying when you get to your 12th pick and you have a bad running back depth, and the only running backs out there are nobody.
If Myles Gaskin is your
Jamal Williams,
if you're starting Myles Gaskin week in and week out, you're going to lose. If you're starting Leonard Fournette week in and week out, you're going to lose.
But if you're starting Christian McCaffrey and then your other running back was, pick me a mid-level guy,
Raheem Mostert,
sure, and then you're running Chase Edmonds,
no chance.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You can win with
Raheem Mostert. At least has shown it, but he's still trash.
So if
he's still trash.
Let's say
Kenyon Drake. You want to roll out Kenyon Drake there week in and week out? Anybody after Kenyon Drake, we should just not talk about.
This is not your whole year plan. This is guys that will have relevant weeks that'll help you get through your guys being injured.
But if you have that injury on your roster, you're done.
Did I say Jeff Williams? I apologize.
We said a lot of different Williams and Jeffs.
It's because they're no-name guys, and you just smash them all together because they're all the same guy. I'm just saying,
none of these guys. David Johnson, you can't compete with David Johnson.
David Johnson.
Mike Davis, you can't compete with Mike Davis.
There'll be weeks when he's important to winning.
Michael Carter. Michael Carter is a guy at least could be valuable. We don't know about Michael Carter yet. I'd much rather take Michael Carter here than, Tony Pollard.
You can't fill your team
Zach Moss
with 5 running back ones. You have to get the elite running backs, you get 2 or 3 of them. And then if one goes down,
then you just play the waiver wire or you have to trade.
They can get opportunity.
You're incorrect.
What are you going to trade? Your injured running back for running back?
Next year's draft picks.
That's in Dynasty. But in redraft...
No, in redraft, you can still trade
you need some of these tough guys. You need some of these guys that are having a path to opportunity if one guy before them goes down.
If they don't have a path to having at least consistent RB2 numbers, I'm not interested. In no world is Gus Edwards getting RB2 numbers. It's just not going to happen. Nyheim Hines is not getting RB2 numbers.
If the guy in front of them goes down, they are.
No, because they're not good enough.
They are good enough. Gus Edwards...
They're not good enough.
They are if they get the opportunity. Daryl Henderson had games last year where he was relevant.
You could give me all the opportunity I could get. I'm not good enough. these guys
They're better than us.
They're 100%
better football players.
I'm not trying to relate myself.
Tony
I'm just
Pollard,
saying,
when the week that Zeke went down, he put up like 30 points.
Tony Pollard is only if Zeke's injured. And
yes, I'm saying guys that if the guy in front of them gets injured can be Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard is the exception here.
No, there's like 6 of those
There's
guys.
not 6 of them.
Daryl Henderson, Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison.
No, Alexander Madison, we saw him last year.
He had one bad game. He had a decent game. Alexander, but
you taking Hubbard as you want to start him at CMC?
Will be started by teams, and he will produce if Christian goes down.
If Christian goes down, are you rolling out Hubbard that first week?
I'm not drafting Hubbard in a redraft, but if Christian goes down, I'm definitely spending all my fab on the waiver.
Banjo brings up a good one. Cohen. You taking Cohen here?
Cohen sucks.
No, nobody's taking Cohen. Have we not gotten rid of him yet?
I would rather take a shot.
He's just running water bottles to Montgomery and Williams
Again,
and Khalil Herbert.
If we get this late, I'm taking a shot on Michael Carter. I'm taking a shot on Trey Sermon. I'm taking a shot on at least rookies that we necessarily haven't seen yet that have some draft capital invested in them. Or I'm just going to send it. Just rolling with it and try and trade for stuff if I need it later on. I mean, I think you're
all right, let's move on to the next guy on the list. We got a couple more to get through, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
So this is a guy that Nick also is historically not liked, but Mike Williams, if you believe in Herbert, he's going to be, I believe, the wide receiver 2 on that team. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to return value. There have been some other podcasts I've been listening to that are kind of getting on that train. Hate it.
He's awful.
All right, fine. Next one we got is Bryan Edwards. So he was a guy that you had drafted. You traded him away. I traded for Bryan Edwards recently, and the main reason is because there are a lot of vacated targets with Aguilar moving on, and if he can kind of establish himself as the number 1 receiving option on that team, even though I don't like the Raiders, I don't like Carr, I think there are targets to be had, and if he can emerge as the number 1 guy, maybe it's Ruggs,
Mike
but
Williams,
I think Ruggs is more the field
career
stretcher.
high in receptions is 49 receptions for 1,001 yards and only 2 touchdowns. That's not even – that's an okay flex
Didn't he have
asset.
an 8-touchdown season?
He had a 10-touchdown season with only 660 yards.
There you go.
But you don't know when to start him. He's worthless. You don't know when to start him.
1,000 yards, he had 10 touchdowns.
But he's not – this isn't Cole Beasley 1,000 yards where he's putting 10 to 12 up a game. This is 25 points and then dud, and then 32 points, then dud. You don't know when to put him in your lineup, and you can't afford to roll him out there every week. Yeah. So
late round flyer.
Mike Williams is MVS in this situation.
That's fair. Sometimes an MVS, but late round.
That's it. I mean,
if he can be more consistent, if Herbert
last year with Herbert, he was with Herbert last year. 48 receptions for 750 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's a middling, okay flex play.
It's not awesome.
It's not awesome.
It's better than the other guys going in that range.
I mean, he only had 85 targets. I mean, there was nobody else on the team last year, and he only had 85 targets. So
I missed some time, as he does.
He played in 15 games.
All right.
He missed 1.
And another guy who went from a top asset to just not even being drafted, Zach Ertz right now. I think that it'll change if he gets traded to the Colts. That's kind of a rumored spot. But even if he's on the Eagles and you can get Zach Ertz with the absolute last pick in your draft and just throw him on the bench and see if he had injuries last year, he had a different quarterback. If he can be half of what he used to be, I think that the potential for Zach Ertz to outperform where he's getting drafted of undrafted is there's a high potential that he does better than that.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost in the range where people are taking defenses and kickers, so I think you could do much worse.
You could take your defense and kicker before you take Zach Ertz and have a nice kicker and defense and just I think it's a great just late round dart throw.
I'd much rather have Zach Ertz than Eric Ebron. I'd say that, but I don't love Zach Ertz. I'd rather take Higbee like we were talking about before and just roll with that. I don't know. Around Zach Ertz is Tariq Cohen, which I know you don't like. Jamison Crowder, Rashad Bateman. I'm a little bit more interested in than Ertz. Gabriel Davis, I'm much more interested in than Ertz. I think you could do worse than Ertz for sure. But you want Cole Kmet or Zach Ertz?
Zach Ertz is just at this range of undrafted guys, the guy that I think has the most potential to be a top 5 at his position. You could say that ship has sailed, not believe it, but again, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility.
We're 2 years removed from being relevant?
No, he had, I think he was the tight end 3 or 4 2 years ago, and then last year he had an injury. Wentz was awful. The Eagles were a dumpster fire.
No, he was okay in 19. 916 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not crazy good.
What was his finish?
Good.
I think he was tight end like 3.
I'm not sure. Honestly, that probably is tight end 3 numbers.
Yeah.
If you can get the year before, he had 100. He had 30 more receptions for 200 more yards, and he had 2 more touchdowns. So 19 was definitely not his best season or close, but
still younger than Kelsey. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Could bust, but I like the upside.
We're just so far removed.
Oh, we got a Sogo asking about OJ Howard at Tampa Bay. There have been about 3 or 4 years in a row I've tried to trade for OJ Howard, never, and finally this year I'm out. I'm out on OJ Howard. I'm not taking the chance. He gets hurt.
So
they've got Gronk there.
We got OJ in this category. We got
Cameron
Devontae.
Brate looked good in the playoffs.
We got Devontae Parker in this category. We got Mike Williams in this category of guys that are perennially like, hey, what about this guy? And they're always bad. They disappoint you every single time.
Banjo says Mike Williams is a player like too much to own in fantasy. Make you hate him almost. Yeah. All right, let's see. A couple quarterbacks I'll just throw out there. Lamar's going. I think he could return value where he's going. You got to still get him higher up, but he's just fallen to a point where I know you're not a Lamar guy. I like where he's going. I might take a chance on him in one league.
I thought you said quarterback.
And the other one, well, again, if a quarterback can run, they can that can help you out in fantasy. The other one I like, Jameis Winston. Still, he hasn't come up to the point where he's the starter for the Saints on the average draft positions where he's going. So if you're drafting now, take a late round flyer because we both believe that Jameis is going to be the guy come day one. He's
going to be the starter, 100%.
And again, the Saints, that's a good team, good coach. They've got Michael Thomas, who is 1 year removed from being the wide receiver 1 and setting record numbers. It could be a good place for Jameis.
I'm too conservative to just buy in on them year one, but I get it.
But that's the beauty of the sleeper, and the value is that you can get him very, 100%. Very late, and maybe he's the QB, 6 on the year.
But I'm not going to be able to get Winston as my QB 2, and I'm not going to spend up for him to be my QB 1. Breeze is going to get more points than Jameis this year. No chance. No chance.
True, Breeze.
Jameis will at least play
maybe on his fantasy team at home.
At least play a game.
Oh, yeah, Jameis is going to be out there. Even if they just try like a two-headed monster kind of thing, which that's what I'm most afraid of. But
did you know Taysom Hill had, 10 fumbles last year on 95 touches?
I did know that because I saw it in our league chat.
Yeah, 95 touches, 10 fumbles. That's
just from home on the couch. Breeze can't throw it. Breeze can't throw it from the couch to the TV.
Nope.
So
no.
I liked your Breeze.
Yeah.
Breeze is a good guy. I just got old. It happens to all of us.
He did get old.
I'm there, man. I get it.
Been there.
Sorry, Breeze.
All right. I think that'll pretty much do it. You got any other last-minute names on your list?
The Bears.
No, that about does it for me. Right. Last second, if there's anybody in the chat you want to talk about, throw it out there. But I think we'll probably wrap up the recording.
Oh, yeah.
Job's done.
We gotta get some Apex going tonight, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always in there.
We need a third. Anybody else play Apex? need to jump in with us.
Marcy, always a pleasure. Thanks for showing up. You did it.
Yeah, welcome back.
We appreciate it.
Welcome back. And what do we want to do next week? What are we
thinking?
thinking?
If you're watching on an account where you can't comment, we still remember you, buddy. Thanks. We got the swag.
See, Marcy, she knows what to do.
Oh, there we go.
Mod. Send that Discord link.
Mod privileges resecured.
Man, oh man. All right, well, I think we'll end it here. Thanks again for coming out, everybody. We will see you most likely next week, and maybe we'll do a mock draft. We'll see. We'll
sucks.
It out. If you want to give us kind of what you would like to see us do, join the Discord and
within reason. Yeah,
throw your thoughts in there. I miss my buddies.
Oh, we missed you too.
We're back.
So we will be hanging out in the Discord.
Bye, Soko.
All right, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Take it easy.